wants a control that provides a grouping for other controls. You use a panel of subdivide if formed by function. It is like a GroupBox, but can have scroll bars and does not display a caption. Commonly used properties are: there's a name, a unique ID to refer to a specific control in code. There's a font. It globally applies to all the controls in the panel. So if you set a font to bold or whatever, it's going to happen to every button, text box, and label that you have in there unless they're overridden. There's a location. There's an X property and a Y property showing the horizontal position on the form and the vertical position on the form. You also have a size. There's a width property, which is the width in pixels, and the height property, which is the height in pixels. There's a tab index. It's a sequence or order in which this control will get the focus when the user hits the tab key. And there's a visible property. True or false as to whether the control appears on the form. The default is true. There's also a default event. There's a paint event that causes the code to be executed when the panel is activated. Normally this is not used. However, you can use this to actually do something different with your panel and give it a different look. Let's take a look. We're going to go ahead again. The common controls is not where this is found. This is found in the container area. And we can grab the panel by simply double clicking on it, and we get something very similar to a GroupBox. It looks like this. Let's make our form a little bigger. And there it is. You can move it around. It has that name, which I'm going to say PNL. Let's call it container. And, well, we can change the font in this thing if we want. Anything that appears in this thing will have this font if we put controls in there. We won't do that right now. We have a location property, which allows us to position this thing where we want it. Location is sitting right up here. At X and Y properties. Let's go ahead and make this 300 and 200. And it moves. We can also change the size property. Let's make this, it is 200 by 100 right now. We could certainly make this 500 if we wanted to, and the width, and you can see it gets much larger. We'll stick with 200 right now. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to go ahead and, actually, let's make this a bit larger. Let's just kind of just extend. We can do that with the bars if we want here. And we go to our common controls. We can put a number of things in here. We might want to put a bunch of labels or text boxes in here. So I'm going to put a text box in here, set it right in here. And I'm going to set another one in here. I'm just going to make a copy of this, Control C, and do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a bunch of them in there. And I'm going to circle all these guys. I'm going to use my format control to align their lefts and then to format and make their vertical spacing equal. Now they're sitting out there beyond the control, as you can see. We're going to extend it a little bit too. Let's go ahead and vertical spacing increase. So now they're coming below this thing. I'm going to take this box right now and shrink it down a little bit. So it's like this. And we'll move it so it's about like this. Make our top a little higher. And if we look at our controls right now, we'll save it. And I'll do a start. And you can see, I can see a partial text box up here and another one here. I can actually type on these things if I wanted to, but I can't see them all. And the box itself doesn't appear to have any border around it. And that's fine. You can create a border if you wish. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to go to the properties of this panel. And I'm going to go to the scroll property, auto scroll, and turn this to true. Once I set that thing to true, notice the scroll bar is sitting off here on the side. If I now do a file save and start it, I have this ability to move this text box up and down. I can get to everything I want now. I can just type in this one and go down to here, get out of here, down to here, tab, goes down to the next one, tab, goes down to the next one. So you can put multiple things into your text box to make it look like this. That's pretty much the extent of it. It's used commonly for radio buttons, checkboxes, things of that nature. You also have that paint event that happens when you turn this thing on. I'm going to turn off the scroll bar here, and I'm going to make this thing 200 by 100. So it's sitting there right now. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this back color to yellow. That's still better. I suppose I'm okay. But whatever. It doesn't matter too much. What I'm going to do to this thing right now is I'm going to double click on this thing. In fact, I'm going to run it first. And you can see that the property runs with this color sitting in the background. If I want, I can actually use the paint property, which is a paint event that happens when you actually start this thing. So by double clicking on it, you get at the paint event. And it's sitting right in here. I'm going to get rid of my controls. And I'm going to put in something like this in here. I'm going to create a couple of lines of code in here. A solid brush called HB, which is going to be a new solid brush with the color of red. And I'm going to fill a rectangle starting in HB, 0, 0, 66, and 10. So it's going to go a portion of the way out. Then I'm going to change the solid brush XX to a black and run it and put it in the color. So when I run this thing now, I'll do a file save all and start. And up comes some red, some black. You're seeing some different colors going in here. You're not seeing the yellow anymore. I can certainly widen that if I wanted to. Stretch this guy out, make it a little larger. And you'll see how I'm actually touching pieces of this thing. The color is there. All these text boxes are in the way of the black, but there's black behind this thing. So you can use the drawing commands to actually draw lines in here, squares, whatever you want, if you want to decorate or you want to change or use this panel for a specific purpose. Generally, you don't. Generally, it is used without any color, without the background. Let's go to the event, blow it out. And let's go ahead and take our paint color and turn it off. Just make it transparent. And this is normally how you see the panel. It looks like that. Nice thing about it is you can put a bunch of things on the form at the same time. In one panel, you might have the name, address, city, state, and zip of a customer. In a second panel, which is invisible, you might have the financial characteristics of that person. And you can have a button which will turn one off and bring the other forward. So it's very useful from that standpoint. You'll see more of that when we actually work with code. That's it for panels.